감사합니다. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be back in Korea. I actually spent the first part of my career living in Seoul in the early 90s, so I'm dating myself. But I used to work for one of the joint venture partners of the Nongshim company. And it has been awesome to have a front row seat in watching over the last couple of decades and how Korea has exploded with economic growth. It's also, of course, been exciting to see how Korea is now one of the most advanced technological-based countries in the world. So I'm delighted to be part of the speaker series on conscious curiosity. I'm going to talk about it from the point of view of innovation and connectedness. And let me start by first taking a look at the global economy. If you look at what's driving the global economy right now, it's not the creation of physical goods. It's about the knowledge economy. The global economy has become the knowledge economy. It's about bits and bytes. It's about information, it's about knowledge, it's about your ability to discover it, and it's about your ability to share it. And when we at Facebook think about that, the knowledge economy, that's part of our ambition. That's part of what we do. Our goal is that we want to connect the world and give people the power to share. And when you do that, we focus on it on an individual basis. So, me as an individual, I have the ability to share the things that are most important to me, interest, movies I've watched, articles I've read, life moments, and even some of the bad things. And I share those with the people that are most important to me. And when you do that at a global level, some really profound things happen. Let me start by talking a little bit about a recent tragedy, heartbreaking in many respects. 8,000 people have died at the earthquakes, the Nepalese earthquakes in that Nepalese region. Several thousand are injured, many trying to put together their life afterwards. And if you look at where some of the news broke on that, where some of the earlier conversations that took place, it wasn't through some of the traditional media outlets, it was through Facebook. And also what quickly happened is people went from the breaking news to those that had loved ones in the area, trying to understand, are they okay? One of the things that we launched at Facebook was something called Safety Check. And what that is, it's a very simple tool. It allows people in areas that are impacted by a devastating event like this to check in and let the world know, their loved ones know that they're okay. And during the Nepalese earthquake, over 7 million people checked in using that tool. We sent out notifications to over 150 million people of their loved ones to let them know that they were okay. And then if you look at how conversations evolved, it moved quickly at a global level to, hey, how can we help? What can we do on the relief efforts? And happy to see that Facebook was a key role in that. And so roughly 750,000 individuals donated to the relief efforts in Nepal. They raised over $17 million. We actually, as Facebook, added another $2 million to that. It came from over 175 different countries participated. And the point of this is that, look, the way that people connect and communicate, this type of thing wouldn't be possible in previous generations, certainly not at this scale. And so when we look at our mission and we unpack it, we generally focus on two things. How do we connect the unconnected? And how do we give people the power to share? And if you start with that, with how do you connect the unconnected? 2/3 of the world's population doesn't have access to affordable, reliable internet. And the internet is, again, one of the core parts of the knowledge economy and how it's expanding. Yet 2/3 of the world doesn't have access. And when you think about access and what that means, especially in the context of this speaker series of conscious curiosity, not only do people miss out that aren't connected, they miss out on the opportunities, but the world is missing out on what those people could bring to society. And there was a recent study that was done by Deloitte, and they talked about, they were trying to measure the impact and said, look, if we were to get connectivity in some of the undeveloped world up to the same standards as the developed world, what would the impact of that be? And you find it's pretty profound. So over 140 million new jobs created. Over 160 million people pulled out of poverty, and over 2.4 million lives would be saved. That's about access to education, it's about access to healthcare, it's about access to opportunity. And one of the bases how we're doing that as Facebook is something called Internet.org. And Internet.org is a consortium of companies that care about this problem. Facebook is leading it. And we focus on some of the big barriers, and the barriers are around simple things like infrastructure and connectivity, which actually isn't so simple. It focuses around things like affordability, some of the economic factors, and it also focuses around some of the social factors. And oftentimes, some of the social factors can really be tough problems to solve. So people in the undeveloped world wondering, why do I even need the internet? And that's because there isn't good quality content that's available that's meaningful to their lives, and it isn't available in the language that's relevant to them. And so we're focused on this problem, and we've so far had some really good progress. If you look at Internet.org activities, so far they've launched in 11 different countries, coverage of over 1 billion people. We've so far seen 9 million people come online for the first time, and we also recently announced the opening of some APIs, which will allow other companies that care deeply about this issue to develop services and apps with this purpose in mind. So now let me move over to giving people the power to share. Many people know the core Facebook app. Hopefully all of you are users in the audience. But to us, it's much more than that. People want to communicate in many different ways. And so at Facebook, we understand that, and there's different family of applications and services. And so we have 1.4 billion people that are using Facebook on a monthly basis. We have 800 million people that are using WhatsApp. 700 million people are using our group's products. Over 600 million people are using our Messenger product, and over 300 million are using Instagram. And it's not just about using, it's about, do you matter in people's lives? Does that communication matter? And if you look at the statistics, we're a deep part of how people are communicating. Deep engagement. And so 85% of the 1.4 billion people are coming back on mobile devices, are coming to Facebook on mobile devices. 65% are coming into Facebook every single day. And if you look at the total time spent on the internet, roughly 1 out of every 5 minutes is spent on Facebook. And if you look at it through a mobile lens, so a mobile internet, 1 out of every 4 minutes. And so what I'd like to do now is shift gears a bit and talk a little bit about how we see some of the connections evolving going forward. What are some of the big areas that are impacting that? And I want to start off with mobile. There is no doubt that mobile is not something new. But what's happening is the evolution towards mobile, or revolution towards mobile, is happening at a pace that even we in the industry are astounded by. It is truly changing the world. I have some of the most powerful computing devices of our generation available in my pocket 24/7. I have access to more information. I have access to the loved ones that matter to me in ways that previous generations didn't. So many of the countries talk about the digital crossover, where people are actually getting access to information or consuming information more digitally than they are through some of the traditional mediums like TV. But in reality, in most of Asia is mobile first. In some countries, it's mobile only. Not only has the crossover to digital happened, the crossover to mobile digital has happened. So people are spending more time consuming their information on mobile devices than they are through traditional mediums like TV. This has changed the world. There's something that we call FOBO, and we recently did a study amongst teens and young adults. And over 60% say that of that group say that they want to be connected no matter where they're at. And 69% of them say they would rather give up their TV set than their mobile device. Again, truly transformational. Second big area that's happening is around things becoming more visual. And let me put it in the context of Facebook. So originally when people were sharing on Facebook, it was all about text in the early days, right? I share my vacation to Italy. And then it became much more visual, and frankly, we're in the middle of this phase right now where there's pictures that are used to describe and communicate and connect. But now what we're seeing is an explosion of video, which is much more immersive way to communicate. And we expect that this is going to continue even more immersive ways, things like artificial intelligence and virtual reality. And just to give you a context on how video is exploding on Facebook, you've got over 4 billion views per day. Amazing. Also, Facebook is the #1 way that people discover video on the internet. The third area is it's becoming more personal. So if you look at how people were communicating in the early days of the internet, it was very much around anonymity, right? I went by Auden 475. But if I think about where I'm at today, my network is authentic. I'm Dan Neary. My network is authentic. And if I try and tell people I'm 24 years old, they'll know that I'm just not being truthful. The benefit of that is we now know about your connections. We now know you across devices and across platforms. And what that allows you to do is to deliver a truly personalized experience. And so if you think about your news feeds, no two news feeds on Facebook are exactly the same. We all have different friends, we all have different interests. And so if I'm a marketer and I want to deliver somebody a personalized message, I have the ability to do that in a relevant way that I previously couldn't do. I also have the ability to do it at scale, so 1.4 billion people. So the impact of that is amazing. Also, if you think about what a real network, an authentic network built around real people does for marketers, is many of the issues around marketing in a mobile environment are resolved. So the fact that it's application-driven, the fact that cookies don't work in a mobile environment, and your ability to target people across devices and across platforms. As I said up front, it's not really the global economy that's driving things from a physical standpoint, it's about the knowledge economy. And the knowledge economy is about information and how do you share the information. And there's no better situation than where we're at now in terms of greater access to information, the ability to process that, and the ability to carry it with me in a mobile device. And when you put all of this together, there's some pretty profound changes that take place. One of the videos that I want to show right now is hopefully something that's very familiar, which is the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. It happened last summer, it happened on Facebook. We recently had the ability to have the people that founded the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge that launched that on Facebook. We had the ability to talk to those folks, and I think it makes for a pretty compelling story in terms of the type of impact that you can have. So with that,
who came up with this idea, this whole campaign?
There were 3 families that we give credit to.
Anthony has weakness in his upper body. He has no use of his hands anymore.
That's a grand slam home run for Peter Frates.
There are many different devices he has at this time because without them, he wouldn't be able to live.
Your mind is not affected at all, and yet your body is just completely shutting down, and there's nothing you can do about it.
This is to generate awareness about ALS.
I sent it out to 3 of my girlfriends.
My network was linked just by one person to her network.
From there, he passed it to Pete Frates, and his network really took off with it.
Accepting the Ice Bucket Challenge in support of Pete Frates.
Each family was commenting, liking, and sharing for the first couple nights straight through.
Week 1, Boston media. Week 2, national media. Week 3, celebrities. Week 4, global.
I've been trying to do stuff for a long time, and nothing did what this did. I feel the Ice Bucket Challenge created some hope.
He doesn't think that it's actually going to help him, but he does think that eventually it will help somebody in the future who's diagnosed. He's okay with that because he has me and Taya. So.
If you come to a Facebook office, one of the things that you'll see is a lot of signs around our culture. And there's one statement that I really, truly love, and that's this one. When you think about our journey, and we're really excited and humbled by the fact that we have 1.4 billion people using Facebook and connecting, but it's even more daunting when you think about the fact that 2/3 of the world still yet isn't connected. So with that, I'd like to think that we're all on the journey together. 감사합니다.